Welcome to the Christmas week edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, getting ready for the holiday. And in Maryland, the land of pleasant living, the home of Old Tenenbaum, the state song, also known as Maryland, My Maryland. John Webster, how are you doing? Bet you didn't know that,
Hey,
did you? That's the state song.
great information, Gary. How you doing, man?
All right, all right. Yeah,
Hey, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Another cold and rainy day here in Maryland. Getting ready for the holidays, but also we're getting ready with the holidays. Another exciting week in sports. Also, uh, some great upcoming sports as well. So, Gary, we're going to talk about some NFL. We're going to branch off into some NCAA football. So let's go ahead and get this party started, man.
oh,
NFL, man. Let's go with it. Let's make it quick with NFC East because we got other fish to fry in the NFL. The
all right.
Eagles.
Eagles. Well, first of all, are you going to admit that you were wrong?
Sure. Eagles
Okay.
won the division. No problem.
All right. For what? First time in how many years?
20 plus.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, they limped to the finish line, but I guess limping to the finish line and winning is better than not reaching the finish line at all. So I guess we'll give it to them on that one. But man, I think the team that we're looking at in the excuse me, I'm not even gonna say in the division. I was getting ready to say in the conference, but we'll get to that in a minute. All I gotta say is um, the NFC East, they they got a lot of rebuilding to do in many ways, and I would say even the Eagles because yes, the Eagles won the division, repeated as division champs, but they are not looking like a team that is ready to repeat as Super Bowl champions. It's like John, here it is, we're what, 15 games in, 15, 16 games in, and the Eagles just have not put together the kind of all-around effort, complete effort that they've needed to win. As it is, they had to rally to beat Washington on the road, and it's just been kind of a familiar story with them all year. And yeah, again, you give them props for winning the division, but does that look like a team that's going to scare you?
Playoffs, anything can happen, Gary. Who knows, man? We'll do some
Yeah.
analysis on it, but congratulations to the Eagles for winning the NFC East. Congratulations on making the playoffs. The Bears, they played the Packers. Great game.
Mhm.
Unfortunate ending for the Packers. I thought the Packers would pull it out, but the Bears are the cardiac kids this year, man. What do you think?
John, I agree with you. They are cardiac, but when you start winning games like that, well, with the number of games that they've won like that, it says a lot about their character. And remember, they lost a game like that at Washington last year that really kind of jettisoned their season, to use a 10-cent word. Um, the kind of game that they lost last year to the Commanders, they're winning those type of games this year, including a rematch against the Commanders, and that says a lot about their character, and that's the kind of thing that I think they can carry into the postseason. That they won't be down. They can be down but not out. And yes, it helped that they were playing at home against the Packers, but it really doesn't matter if you come back and win a game like that. How you did it, really doesn't matter. The only thing I can say as a Packers fan, I'm kind of I'm, I don't really have a problem with the Bears winning from a standpoint of Caleb Williams and his development. We were starting to get to that point. in his growth, where they were wondering, where the critics were wondering, is he going to get there? Is he going to take that next step? Yes, he has this year in major ways, not just in terms of his poise, but in terms of his leadership, his decision making, his accuracy, his strength, and many things. And the team is that the offense is rallying around that. But what we need to talk about with the Bears is that defense. When you can shut a team down that's up by 12, 14 points or something, make it up in the in the fourth quarter, then go into overtime and win it. Your defense has to give you a chance to get the ball to make that kind of comeback. And every game I've seen just a little bit with that defense, whether it's stopping a run, stopping a pass, doing both, just really coming up with field position. That's what they're doing, and I would say they're probably the second best team in the NFC right now. And please, if there are any Chicago Bears fans, please don't take that the wrong way, because the Seattle Seahawks in the West look like the team to beat right now. And I would put the Bears second because they come in with a win, and the Rams lost a winnable game, so they're probably a close third. What do you say about that?
Well, you got to give the Bears credit. They won the game.
Mhm.
I was thinking Green Bay could win, and I was hoping Green Bay would win. Um, you mentioned the Rams. They lost a heartbreaker. I thought they were going to win. I was hoping they
Mhm.
were going to win. Then they lost in overtime. So to me, Gary, and you're probably going to tell me I'm off my rocker. I don't see the Bears as the best team in the NFC.
No,
I
I said,
still see.
remember, I said second best. I think that they could make some noise in the playoffs. I really do.
I don't think they're the second best. Um,
Who do you think is second best? I'd like to hear this.
LA is the number one in my book. They're the best team in the NFC. And pick them, Seattle or San Francisco. Either way, two or three. I don't care which one you go with, two or three. I think those are the three best teams in the NFC. I think the Bears are good, but you said something very interesting that I agree with. You alluded to it a little bit earlier. I called them the cardiac kids, and you basically said you that's rough to always win games like that. Can't always depend on pulling games out of your hat at the end. Ask that team that wears burgundy and gold that's right around my neighborhood. It doesn't always work like that. That ball bounces
Mhm.
real funny. I don't take anything away from the Chicago Bears, but I no, they're not the second. They definitely aren't the best, and they aren't the second best. I can see them being the second best with the record in the NFC, and I can see also somebody going to Soldier Field and beating them at Soldier Field. I can see that. So that's
Well,
what I see with that. San Francisco looked really good again. They just beat the Indianapolis Colts. That was what, 48-27. San Francisco has a lot of injuries, but doggone it, that Shanahan kid, you know, that Shanahan tree is something else, Gary. And they
yeah.
whatever you put in front of him, he finds a way to win, Gary. I mean, they do it. Every week they go out. I mean, you look at them. Okay, we're not going to keep Debo Samuel. Well, we still bounce back with Juwan Jennings and whoever else you got over there.
Hmm.
You need another running back to go with McCaffrey. You bring in Brian Robinson, just like your dad. You find these running backs, they ain't first or second round picks. I'm sorry. I said ain't. They are not first and second round picks. They're third, fourth round picks, and that's what Shanahan is a great coach, just like his dad. Does a wonderful job. Seattle, Mike McDaniel. I think no, Mike McDonald. Mike
Nick
McDonald.
McDonald, yeah.
Yeah. I got to remember he's the second Mike McDonald. The first Mike McDonald was singing with the Doobie. Was it the Doobie Brothers?
That's Michael McDonald.
and his name is Michael McDonald too, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're any relation. Hey, let's put
Well,
him in front of a piano and see what he does,
I hear you, Gary. I hear you.
or hand him
But
a doobie.
it's a
Yeah,
family show, Gary. Family
yes, it
show.
is. Yes, it is. But it's legal now.
But Seattle's tough, man. Seattle's really tough. Sam Darnold's doing a wonderful job there, and to go play in that place they have as a home field, that's rough. That's rough. So I'll say my in my book, there's three top teams, and I think LA is the top, and San Francisco and Seattle are right there with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing right now about Seattle, and again, I didn't know this until they played. I didn't know that Seattle was an 11-win team going into that game. The reason why for this week I give Seattle the nod as the best in the NFC because what's that saying, John? To be the best, you got to beat the best. I was ready
Mm-hmm.
to get on that LA Rams bandwagon. I'm not off of it, but I'm looking at what they did to come back and win, and really to answer the bell in overtime when LA goes ahead and seems to have reclaim momentum and kind of found itself after blowing that lead that uh, Seattle just said, okay, fine, you all did this. This is what we're going to do to win to win the game, and they did. The thing about that game, John, remember how big LA what how much they were up in that game, and I want to say it was probably something like what 30-7 or something. Uh,
30-14. They were up by 16 in the fourth
Okay,
quarter.
16 and fourth. Okay. Yeah, but I think I think they had scored something like 24 straight points or something to go ahead in that game. And they did it so fast. It's like if you had gone to make a sandwich or something and you come back and all of a sudden they're in the lead or at the point I'll say that I went to go get a snack where they were down by at least two touchdowns. Next thing you know, they're within a touchdown. Then they get another one. And remember how I think they scored that tying touchdown really off of a deflected backwards pass that goes off a helmet, rolls toward the goal line, and dude is just standing there and picks it up in the end zone. I mean, it
Yeah,
was just
that was that 2 point conversion. Um,
that was the two
that made it.
point.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was a two
okay,
point conversion that made it 30
yeah,
to 30.
yeah, yeah.
And I think what turned that game around, in my opinion, was the punt return. Seattle got
That too.
a punt return for a touchdown. I think that's what turned the game around. But I still think LA is the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, but they
Now,
have to
now,
learn not to take their eye off the ball, and that's the biggest thing. I'm concerned with is that um, between Stafford, Tutu Atwell, they're a combination. They got to figure out. They have to use all of their strengths, but the thing they have to do is they have to protect the ball. And special teams is going to be the thing I think that will determine how far they go because they've given up some yardage on punt and kick return that allow teams that they've had in control to get back into the game. And you can't give any team any kind of advantage or any kind of opening to come back. You saw what happened against Seattle, and of course, when you're one and done in the playoffs, and you've got nothing really to lose if you're a team that goes into LA, which they probably will have to do. You got nothing to lose except the game, but you figure it's like, look, let's just pull out all the stops, and that's what they're going to do. Um, you can't underestimate anybody in this league. And again, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, you've got to hold serve at home, and that means staying focused.
yep. What do you think about the AFC, Gary? What do you think about the AFC? What do you think is going to go on there?
Wow. Well, I mean,
You
I think we're,
got you
I,
you got you got Pittsburgh moving forward, catching fire. You got Jacksonville catching fire. You got Buffalo catching fire, and you got New England surprising everybody.
yeah. It really it's a four car race. I mean, all four division leaders, John, are capable of really doing some damage. Jacksonville might be the hottest team right now. Who would have thought that maybe? Who would have thought that a year ago? Bringing in Liam Cohen as head coach, and of course, we know about him here in Kentucky as a two-time offensive coordinator at Kentucky most recently, and say what you will about Will Levis, who might be in the witness protection program somewhere in the NFL, but for that 1 year, he made him into a first-round NFL quarterback. Um, he, eventually was drafted in the second round. Of course, that was after Cohen had left, and Cohen is just quietly built a resume as an OC, first in Tampa Bay, and then now he's a head coach at Jacksonville. And now we're talking about Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence as a 1-2 offensive tandem again. And let's not forget what Jacksonville's defense is doing too. That team kind of reminds me of again when I covered them back in the 90s in that second year under Coughlin they where their defense really started to put things together, but it gave confidence on offense. And granted, it's an expansion team with a bunch of retreads, but some of the retreads they had picked up and some younger guys. Remember a guy named Keenan McCardell, John?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
who had a cup of coffee in Washington. Guys like that you find a way to get something out of them. And you look on Jacksonville's offensive line. They've made some good trades and have drafted well. And again, Cohen was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach with the Rams during that Super Bowl run. So what he's doing there is no surprise because it's what he did in LA. I think it's twice now. Yeah, because again, he alternated stints between the Rams and Kentucky, and he just continued to hone his craft. Now he's got his own team, and everybody's like, "Well, why would you give him that team?" Well, why not give him that team? You see what he's doing. But again, John, the way that this league is going, it's a week to week thing. Jacksonville, I would put out ahead this week, but I still say you've got Denver coming up. Like I'll say, they're on their door. Then you've got New England and Buffalo, which are maybe a length behind, and then there's Pittsburgh that is right on all four of their bumpers there. To use a NASCAR analogy there. Now, of those five teams that I mentioned four division leaders, do you think Pittsburgh is the kind of team that can make a run, or are they just winning a bad division?
Yes, and yes. They're winning a bad division, but they're making a run. I don't think they'll have enough gas in the tank to get to the Super Bowl. Um, I'll say it now, but when the playoffs start, I may change it. But I think the team that's going to come out of there is going to be Denver. I think Denver's the best team in the AFC. I think New England is a little bit young, and I think Buffalo is going to give a run to Denver, but the door will not open for Josh Allen. He will not get to the Super Bowl.
I'm going to disagree with you, John. I'm not sold on New England just yet. I'm probably more sold on Denver than I am on New England, and that's not taking anything away from Drake May. I feel like both of them are young quarterbacks, but you see it's a maturation progress, and it's more about are you are you taking control of games or are you just finding ways to win games? And New England, I feel like, has had a little bit of both. Denver was a comeback team early in the season, but now they're really taking control. Yes, at some point, their winning streak was going to end because they do. But Sean Payton really has them humming, and they look like a team that that can really dominate a game. The game, in fact, I'm trying to remember what was it. I think what Jacksonville was the one that beat them, and no, don't get me to lying. I'm not going to guess because it's all starting to run together at this point. But um, again, I'd like to see Drake May take New England to another level because we know what we have in a coach and Mike Vrabel up there. Um, it's good to see that team. Remember, I mean, that was a team. I think you were on their bandwagon for a while under the hoodie, Coach Hoodie, and that Brady dude, and that's fine. You got off that bandwagon, and I'm not sure which one you're on now, but um, I still feel like with Kansas City out of the picture and probably looking to do a reset after this season, this might be Josh Allen's last really good opportunity to get to a Super Bowl. That's the way I see it. They were reeling for a while. They were kind of sputtering along, but now they seem to have found a group again. And I'm not counting them out in that division because remember, they beat New England, so I think that they got to prove they got to make New England prove that they're worthy of winning a division, not just stumbling into it. They got to take it from them.
Well, I think New England, after New England's victory over Baltimore on Sunday night, I think New England has the Jets and the Dolphins left.
Mhm.
I think Buffalo has Philadelphia, and I can't remember the other game. But if it stays the way it is now, uh, New England wins the division. If they end up in a tie, New England wins the division on the tiebreaker. So we'll see what happens. I think, like I said earlier, Gary, I think New England is good, but I don't think this is their year. I think they're a year
No,
away.
yeah, that's
Um,
what I say.
I,
Yeah, with Drake May, he's got to learn how to really he's got to mature as a quarterback because he still makes his share of mistakes, like any young
yeah,
quarterback.
yeah. I think probably the two best teams in the AFC would be Denver, in my opinion, Denver and Buffalo. Those are the two that I see. Um, Houston Texans are good, but I just don't see them going very far in the playoffs. Comes down to Denver and Buffalo, and as I said earlier, the door closes on Josh Allen. He will not get to the Super Bowl. I I leave it open for me to change my mind when the playoffs start. But those are my thoughts for now with both the NFC and the AFC. And my oh my, it will be very interesting. You already don't have a Kansas City Chief team in the playoff. You may not have a Baltimore Raven team either. My oh my, what a different time we have after 1 year. But we'll
Yeah.
see.
So let me ask you a question toward that end, John. Up in Baltimore, do you blow that thing up? Do you do a reset? Do you do you change some of the parts or do you start over? Because, you know, yeah, I feel like Lamar Jackson is at a point in his career where you either have to fish or cut bait with him running things. I never thought I would say that because he's only a couple years removed from his second MVP, but now he's getting hurt a lot. The question is, it is, in fact, it might be less about Lamar than some of the decision making with those around him. As in, Derrick Henry. scores that touchdown against New England and doesn't touch the ball again. That just can't happen. When you got a guy that's that was bruising for 2 touchdowns and your offense is rallying behind him, and then he really doesn't touch the ball again. You blame him. Do you blame him for a fumble? Do you blame him, for a couple of mistakes, or do you just say he's got to figure his way out of it? We were having the same discussion at the beginning of the season when he was putting it on the ground. But my thing is, there was more upside with him with the ball in his hands, even if he puts it on the ground once, because there wasn't anything that New England could do to stop him physically.
Well, you you make a lot of good points and you ask a lot of good questions, Gary. Not a long enough show to answer all of them the way we need to, but I'll just say this. In Baltimore, I have no proof of this, but I have the sense of dysfunction with that entire organization. That's what I feel. Have nothing to prove it with, but I just think that something's just not right there. You asked about what they need to do next year. You need a line, offensive line and a defensive line. Your cornerbacks are not what they should be. You tell me, do you blow it up or not? I mean, it's a lot that needs to be done there. They are close from a standpoint. They have the best player in football in Lamar Jackson. That makes them close, but you can't protect them. You can't decide what you want to do with Derrick Henry. And then when you get happy with Derrick Henry fumbles. What do you want to do with him? Then when he's
Yeah,
playing well and he scores a touchdown, then you don't want to give him the ball. You don't even put him in the game anymore. What do you
yeah,
want to do with him? You don't
yeah.
have you got Zay Flowers and you don't really have a consistent second wide receiver. Honestly, Zay Flowers is a second receiver. You need a prime time receiver. DeAndre Hopkins has been adequate, but DeAndre Hopkins is 75 years old now. So what do you expect him to do when he plays? I mean, he plays well, but he's not the DeAndre Hopkins that you and I knew from 10 years ago, you
No,
know.
no.
So,
I agree
but
with you on Zay Flowers that yeah, I think he's a good secondary complementary receiver, not your primary guy.
yeah, and then you look at they did a signing the other day. You signed Mark Andrews to an extension. What about Isaiah Likely? What about him? You
Hmm.
know, I can't put my hand on it. It just seems like there's dysfunction there. It just doesn't seem, but the show's not long enough to really delve into all of that kind of craziness over there. But I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. I think this week
Oh
they
no,
lose
I
to
think they're
Green Bay.
done. I think
Yeah,
I think
they
they're
lose to
done.
Green Bay this week, and that Pittsburgh game they got last game of the season. I don't even think it's going to mean anything because I
Nope.
don't think they're going to beat Green Bay this weekend.
No.
So, but speaking of playoffs, we do have playoffs going on. The college football playoff. You had Miami take down Texas A&M. You had Oregon take down James Madison. You had Ole Miss take down Tulane. And what's the other one we had? What was the other one we had?
Alabama and
Who?
Oklahoma
And
choking them.
Alabama took out Oklahoma.
No, Alabama. Excuse me. Oklahoma took itself out. I mean, you saw the headlines. Choklahoma.
Well, tomato, tomato.
Yeah,
So
but your point is well made. Um, okay, I'm gonna give you my quick summation. Okay, two things. One, while I'm glad that two group of five teams made it in, um, you saw the difference between group of five and power four. And I'll just leave it at that, especially when you look at just the way that Oregon dismantled James Madison. Forget the fact that James Madison scored what was it? Maybe what 41 points or 30, 30. I think it was 37 points. Okay, fine. They did that, but they were down something like what 36-3, or I mean,
It
they
was
they
30.
were
It was 35-6, and
35-6.
then
Okay. It
and
was, I
then
mean, again, you're talking about almost six touchdowns, John. And yeah, I was looking at the drive chart for Oregon. I don't think Oregon had one drive that was over 6 plays. And you're talking about, let's see, I think it was 4 plays, 60 yards, 5 plays, 65 yards, 6 plays, maybe 75 yards. They had, at my last count, and this is like, say, from really looking at a replay of the game, that they had at least a dozen chunk plays, half of which went for touchdowns. That's not surprising because of the kind of offense they have, but because James Madison, props on a great season, but they were overmatched. The Dukes were overmatched against the Ducks. That's all I have to say about that. We thought Tulane was going to give Ole Miss a better game, but Ole Miss showed why they're Ole Miss and why they're in the playoff, and that's all I can really say about that. Now, Alabama. A week ago, John, we were wondering if the committee just have like this has this wanderlust when it comes to Alabama. How you like that word? Um, but again, Alabama shook it off and went into Oklahoma and avenged the loss, and that says more, I think, about Oklahoma in the playoff. And I think it's like they're the only team, I think, to lose big leads in the playoff. And I think they're still like the only team that's been in the playoff to not win a playoff game. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
The last time I think they won a playoff game is when Stoops won the national championship.
yeah, I
If I'm
think
not
so.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're right on that one. But
well, give me to me on these predictions, Gary. I'm gonna call them off to you, and you tell me what you think.
mhm.
Here we go. Indiana, Alabama.
Man, that's a tough one. That's really a tough one. But John, I'm going out on a limb and I'm going to say Alabama.
Ohio State, Miami.
Ohio State.
Georgia, Ole Miss, Part 2.
Georgia.
Oregon, Texas Tech.
Oregon.
Okay. We got some interesting games here, man. Interesting games. Indiana, Alabama. I think I see Alabama beating Indiana. Ohio State, Miami. I think I got Ohio State there. Part 2 of Georgia and Ole Miss. I'm with you. I say Georgia. Oregon, Texas Tech. I say Texas Tech. So
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. Gary, go home. Go ahead and take us home, man.
All right. Well, first of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, season's greetings to all of you out there, to you and yours. Uh, thank you again for another great year of watching us talk about sports and break it down. But now we're in college bowl season. There probably there's a bowl game somewhere near you, so watch those. We've got Christmas Day games, NBA games, several there. There's plenty to watch in between opening gifts and eating food. Uh, NHL, we're coming up on the Winter Classic, after the first of the year, and of course, we always have to get back to the NFL and some of these playoff spots being wrapped up, and offering some clarity. So, John, there's so much to watch. And before I go, first of all, I want to send out some condolences to the family and friends and colleagues of Greg Biffle, former NASCAR driver who tragically died with his family in a plane crash a week ago in North Carolina. He was one of my favorite drivers to interview when I covered NASCAR. Just a great driver, a two-time series champion, where he won two of their undercard series, and won something like 19 races at the top level. Just a really good guy, and it's really a tragic loss for the NASCAR family, which is very, very close. And they hopefully they can just rally around the survivors and friends and families, but I mean survivors, that the people that worked with them. And we just pray for friends and family. And I want to say thank you to Greg Biffle for giving me some of the best copy I had as a writer.
Well said, Gary. Also, I want to echo my condolences to the Biffle family as well. So thank you very much for those kind words. Thank you all for joining us again this week. Another exciting week coming up in sports. Watch some football, watch some basketball, NBA, or watch the men or women's college basketball. You got some soccer you can watch. You got some NHL you can watch. But above all else, just watch some sports. And we'll see you again real soon. Take care.